Welcome, fellow explorers. My name is Christian Alexanderson, and this is Hemlocks to Hellbenders, a podcast highlighting Pennsylvania's parks, forests, and great outdoors. The story of the United States of America cannot be told without Pennsylvania. Independence Hall, the Declaration of Independence, Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington's crossing of the Delaware, the Battle of Brandywine, and Valley Forge. Pennsylvania is called the Keystone State because it refers to the central stone in an arch that holds all other stones in place, symbolizing strength and stability. Pennsylvania was the hub of political and economic activity during the colonial period and played a pivotal role in American history. Pennsylvania, its people, its industries, its thinkers, its revolutionaries, its influence, its morals, and its resources serve as the bedrock of these United States. And throughout this year, Pennsylvania is going to be celebrating our place in history as part of the 250th anniversary of the United States. The semi-quincentennial, as it's known, will be celebrated in the original 13 colonies as well as throughout the entire country. But, we're here to talk about Pennsylvania. While so much of our colonial history took place in and around Philadelphia, America 250 PA will be highlighting the incredible contributions of all of Pennsylvania's 67 counties. From Lancaster's farmers to Pittsburgh's factory workers, from the fishermen in Erie to the coal miners of the Lehigh Valley. I'm a history lover. I don't hide this fact. Give me a book or a documentary series about the American Revolution or Civil War, and I'm a happy camper. But you don't have to be a history buff to care about this year's historic celebrations. These upcoming celebrations serve as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn about the founding of this amazing Commonwealth and country. There's going to be concerts, fireworks, educational programs, lecture series, family events, volunteer opportunities, and so much more. I'm excited to welcome Matt Darrett to the podcast. Matt is the Chief of Staff for America 250 PA. Matt, thanks so much for joining the program.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
What is America 250, and what role does the Pennsylvania Commission for the U.S. Semi-Quincentennial play in it?
So America 250 PA is a state commission, a public-private partnership formed in 2018 to help promote and get the Commonwealth ready for the semi-quincentennial. I think that the general thought process was that this is going to be a Philadelphia-based event. Obviously, Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Independence Hall, and we certainly acknowledge all of that. But the mandate from former Governor Wolf and from Governor Shapiro really is, we want to make sure that this event honors all 67 counties. I've had the benefit of traveling. I'm a Philly guy, but I've traveled to a bunch of counties. I actually have to count and figure out exactly how many I've been to. But I think the thing I've learned is not only do we have a lot of great, folks here in Pennsylvania, but we have a lot of great history, a lot of great places to highlight. And we want to use this moment to not just honor what happened in 1776, but all 250 years since then.
Why is it important for Pennsylvania in particular to take a leading role in celebrating America's 250th anniversary?
We're the birthplace of the United States. We are where it all started. We're the keystone for a reason. It's not just a metaphorical thing because we were in the center of the original 13 colonies. I like to think that, we're kind of a linchpin of American history. We have so many amazing things here. We've had obviously Gettysburg, the Whiskey Rebellion, Underground Railroad, industrial history, labor history, women's history, native, all these different cultures, all these different firsts that happened here in Pennsylvania. And we just think that, it's hard, when you're advocating for it yourself, you want to approach it with some humility. It's nicer when you're working, whether it's an elected official or in my case for a Commonwealth, I'm advocating for my home state. And we have so much to be proud of that it's easy and fun to sort of boast and brag a little bit. I think the other part of it is, tell me if you disagree, we're so regional here in PA. I grew up in Philly. If somebody asks me where I'm from, I say Philadelphia. I never say Pennsylvania, and I work with a lot of folks that are based in Northeast PA, and they will tell, they're NEPA people, and it's the same thing out west. It's the same. And one of the things that I want to do, and I was actually not long ago in a classroom reading some grade school kids, I said, the idea is that this whole Commonwealth belongs to all of us. And just because something happened in, Potter County, Tioga County, wherever it might be, we all have a right to feel a little bit of a sense of pride there. Our friends over in New Jersey, a Jersey person is a Jersey person. And I think you see that in a lot of other states. And I would really like that to be one of the legacies of the semi-quincentennial, that sense of Pennsylvania identity.
That's a perfect segue. What's something about Pennsylvania, past or present, that makes you proud to call it home?
That's a really great question. So I would say I come from a labor family. My dad was a union carpenter for many years, and a lot of the advantages that I had in my life were because, he could afford to help me get through school, get me a good education. We had good health insurance, good benefits when he and my mom got sick later in life. So, some of that labor history and some of the organizing that happened in Pennsylvania around coal mines, Molly McGuire's, things like that. Like it was tough going. And, obviously in the 19th century, the working folks in Pennsylvania and across the Commonwealth didn't have an easy time of it. So, so much of that labor history, so much of that, not just the innovation that happened on the managerial side and, from the folks at the top, but some of the folks on the bottom advocating for fair treatment, better conditions, that happened. The Pennsylvania was ground zero for that. Me personally, that makes me very, very proud to be from here.
And I'm sure you have to be excited. I mean, I feel like with America 250, I mean, you hit the jackpot. I mean, Pennsylvania is the best one to have. I mean, if you're going to be on a commission representing a state for America 250, it's got to be Pennsylvania. I mean, it's the best one.
Listen, all due respect to our friends in Virginia and Massachusetts, I can't help but agree. It's where Independence Hall is. It's where the Liberty Bell is. It's where, people like John Adams and Thomas Jefferson traveled to help found this country. And not just that, but, the things that set the stage for the revolution, like our friends in Western PA are very happy to tell you all about the French and Indian War and how, the first time that George Washington burst on the national stage, the international stage, things that happened immediately after that, like the Whiskey Rebellion, the first place that our country was really tested. Like, hey, is this experiment going to work? Are we in this for the long term? That all happened in Pennsylvania. And you can go out to Washington County and learn all about the Whiskey Rebellion. And I've had the benefit of doing that, or go out to places and learn about some of those great museums that we have at all these different sites across the Commonwealth, and learn about all this history. So it's an embarrassment of riches. And again, there's not one claim to fame. There's a whole lot. So yes, it has been shooting fish in a barrel. It's and that's the problem. Is that there's so much to talk about. There's so much to highlight. You want to make sure that all of these places, all of these moments, get their due.
Well, one of the most important, and we've kind of brought it up a couple times today, is that Pennsylvania was central to the nation's founding. How is the commission highlighting those contributions specifically around Philadelphia, and sort of the events that you guys are going to be having?
Yeah. So one of the things that we've done, and we really wrapped it up last year, but we have one more, is we do the Liberty Tree Project.
Yes.
Liberty trees were where the Patriots gathered to talk a little treason and to plan the country that would be. And the last one fell in 1999. It was down in Maryland, but they were able, with some very creative, I don't even know what the word would be, gardening techniques, rescue like saplings. They would now have DNA relatives of the last Liberty tree that we planted in all 67 counties. And it's a living testament to that revolutionary spirit that's now alive in every place in Pennsylvania. In I know, state parks are kind of why we're having this conversation, but many of them are state parks or county parks. Actually, the last one that we're going to dedicate a little bit later this spring is in Washington Square, right in Philadelphia. And it's great because Washington Square was rededicated in the bicentennial. The eternal flame for the unknown revolutionary soldiers was put there during the bicentennial. And so to go this spring, just a few months ahead of the semi-quincentennial with our partners in the Pennsylvania Freemasons, and honor that history one more time with this, again, this living tribute that's that connection to the past, and that hopefully will be growing and healthy and alive in all these counties for the tricentennial, is, I guess, a great way to connect the past to the present. But There's going to be a lot of programming in Philadelphia, specifically PHL 250 is doing a lot of great stuff. They're going to be unveiling a new statue right on Independence Mall. I think my colleague Michael Newmas from PHL 250 mentioned September of next year. It's actually going to be that image of the join or die snake,
Mm-hmm.
and it's connecting a in a triangle. There's like a George Washington statue right at Independence Hall. We of course got the Liberty Bell, and it was always intended to be a triangle, and we're going to finally connect that third piece of the triangle. That's one of the great things too. It's we don't have to do it alone. We have these great partners on the county level or in the case of Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia level. But we expect it to be doing a lot on Independence Day specifically, and ahead of that, at some point we're going to be having a great interaction and collaboration with the Women for Greater Philadelphia, which is an offshoot of a bicentennial group. They buried a time capsule. So we're going to be, exhuming that with them, looking through. There's letters from, I believe it was Governor Schaap at the time, Mayor Rizzo. And our hope is that we can collaborate with our current governor, our current mayor, Mayor Parker, and Governor Shapiro, and kind of get them down to Philadelphia. Obviously, Mayor Parker's here all the time anyway, but get them to kind of take a look at those letters from their predecessors, maybe add something in for the future. So again, little things like that, little ways to sort of honor what happened in the bicentennial, connect it to the present moment, and then, kind of put it forward for the tricentennial and the generations to come later. Some of the things we're excited about.
One of the initiatives that I really thought was a fun, innovative way to kind of spread this enjoyment throughout the Commonwealth was the Bells Across PA. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Bells Across PA is something we did a big blitz of it last year, right through December. But the goal was to get one of these fiberglass replica Liberty Bells in all 67 counties. Ultimately, there's 108 of them. Some counties like Philadelphia and York ordered more, and we work with these amazing local artists and our sponsors. And the idea is to do something with visual art to sort of commemorate the semi-quincentennial. So we work with local artists. They, a theme that honors the local area. For instance, I'll give you one of the first ones I did the end of last summer was in historic Trap. That's a borough in Montgomery County, and the place where it's situated is what they call the Speaker's House. The gentleman who owned that house was actually our first speaker of the House of Representatives for the United States.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's really, and they found a woman who specializes in German style folk art, and it's really beautiful. When the drape comes off, and it always takes my breath away. It's got Lady Liberty on it in this very distinct, iconic style. Another one that's actually in my neighborhood was sponsored by M&T Bank and Representative Jared Solomon, and he wanted to honor a veteran from Northeast Philadelphia named Al Schmidt. No relation to our secretary, but Al Schmidt, the Marine, was a hero in World War II. Was awarded the Navy Cross for his heroism in Guadalcanal. Lost his sight. They made a movie about him back in the 50s, and a constituent came to Rep Solomon and said, "Hey, you should do something for this guy." Apparently, you're not allowed to have a historic marker if you've also already gotten a high military decoration, which is something I wasn't aware of. So Rep Solomon was trying to think creatively, and he heard about this program, worked with Mural Arts in Philadelphia, worked with us, found a great sponsor, and we were able to dedicate a bell actually on Al Schmidt's block and unveil this beautiful bell that, symbolizes his service, his sacrifice, and honors a person. My part of Philly is not old city, it's not center city, it's a little bit out of the way. And so to sort of shine a light on a local hero that I hadn't heard of was a really exciting moment for me. And again, we've seen this again and again and again. I Around the holidays, I was at one in Snyder County on a very cold night. But again, like highlighting those local heroes, that local history, and saying like, hey, your part of Pennsylvania matters. Amazing things have happened here. Beautiful places exist here, and everybody deserves to celebrate that and see it. And we're working with Visit PA, where there's a map that'll be available very shortly around the time you're hearing this, and you can go on and you can tour in your area. If you're visiting PA, I would say don't stop at Philadelphia. There's great places locally in Bucks and Montgomery and Chester County that are a short drive. And a great way to do it is to follow this map and check out some of these bells because they're in historic locations. They're in great, business districts. And it's a great way to see more of the Commonwealth, to learn a little local history just very quickly by walking around a fiberglass Liberty Bell.
Yeah, I love that they're so unique, and the fact that they have such a local angle makes it better than if they were all just the same way. And then, why tour all of them? But the fact that they look so wonderful and they're done by these local artists has been really exciting as you've been kind of sending out those Instagram posts and things like that. It's been really fun to watch.
They've been really fun to attend. I love that. I'm a Parks and Rec fan, and you get that sense of local government and local collaboration in the best possible way. Very it's all very. We're actually there's one that was dedicated in Indiana, the county, the home of Jimmy Stewart, that's actually called A Wonderful Life. So it's very Bedford Falls.
That's awesome. If Pennsylvania threw a 250th birthday party, what do you think would be on the menu?
I try well, so I don't want to do too much Philly centric stuff, but cheesesteak, a roast pork, um, Stocks pound cake. But again, I'm showing my Philadelphia bias here. Um, we actually have America 250 PA actually works with a brewery up in Northeast PA. It's called Declaration. So there's an America 250 PA beer. So we'd have to have a little bit of that.
Scrapple? You
Oh,
think so? Yeah.
Scrapple, of course. Don't ask too many questions about it. Just, add a little ketchup. You're going to enjoy it. Um, I'm a sucker, and I will say this as a Philadelphian. Old Forge pizza is the best pizza. Is my favorite pizza.
It's good.
I once was up in uh, Northeast PA for work. I promised to bring home a pie or a square for my wife. She got one slice. I ate the entire thing on the way home. I felt like a glutton, but I enjoyed every bite of it.
Don't give us an impossible task. I mean, I'm
That's
sure.
it.
Yeah, she learned something that day.
She did, and you know what? And I learned a lesson about my willpower or lack thereof.
Perfect. Yeah. Are there any lesser known Pennsylvania stories or sites that you hope people will discover through America 250 programming?
There are, and if you check out our website, america250pa.org, I would really recommend going to our nonprofit affiliate page. You can see a lot of local historical sites. I'll mention a couple in my backyard just based on where I'm at in the northeast part of Philadelphia. I'm right on the Bucks County border. And again, this is an area that I was raised really close to. And certain places like Andalusia, which is a historic mansion on the Delaware, has these beautiful gardens. And they're this year highlighting their connection to history through the Biddle family, who was a very prominent American family during the Revolutionary period and afterward. There's also a place called the Grundy Museum and Library in Bristol, Pennsylvania, that has, you can check out anything from a musical instrument to a cake pan. If you want to make a SpongeBob cake for your kid's birthday, well, you're only going to use that once. Not a lot of libraries are going to be able to lend you a cake pan or a book, but they're another one that also they're attached. It's an old Victorian home that you can tour and visit and see that slice of life, but also again enjoy some of their other programming. And there's a bunch of these places. Again, I mentioned some of the history around the Whiskey Rebellion, around French and Indian War, and if you check out that nonprofit affiliate page, so many of these smaller historical societies and museums have signed up. We love promoting their events. We get to as many as we can, but it's a great resource for anyone visiting Pennsylvania. Even if you're not going to be in the Southeast, there's a whole host of cool history across the Commonwealth and these museums and places. And the other great thing is, some of the larger museums, especially if you're going with a family, and that's not to knock some of our more prominent, but it can be expensive. Some of these smaller historic sites, it's a little bit more affordable, and you're getting some history that maybe you're not as familiar with. Maybe stuff that didn't make it into the great Ken Burns Revolutionary War documentary, but is still prominent and edifying and interesting, and maybe a little bit more locally focused.
It's funny you say that, Matt, because I was kind of going through a process because I've started to read a lot more about Pennsylvania and a lot more about Pennsylvania history. So French and Indian War, American Revolution, things like that, Civil War. And as I'm reading it, I started to kind of develop this like Google map, like this idea of place I want to visit. And then I went to your website and I was like, well, that was a waste of my time. I could have just gone here because there are so many interesting things. I mean, from the charcoal and iron industry. I mean, there's been so many times I've traveled over 2025 where I've run into things. And I talked to a park ranger, I talked to somebody local, and they're like, oh, yeah, America 250 is like going to put a big push behind this place. Or, oh, you should come back because we're going to be doing like educational programming here. It's really exciting to see like what's available this year because, I'm not like the biggest fan of like, oh yeah, there's going to be an eclipse tonight, so I have to travel to like Montana to go see it. But the idea that something so cool is happening in my backyard and it's not going to happen again, 250 is never going to happen again, is so exciting. I'm like so pumped to see what you guys are putting together. It's really fun.
It's been really, really enjoyable work. I've worked in legislative offices. Sometimes just in the times we live in, there's such a sense of polarization, and it's understandable, but also very frustrating at times. And I'm really hoping that this work can kind of give people a sense of shared identity and something that, like, hey, we have a great shared past to be proud of. Um, Not perfect by any stretch, but I think, generally speaking, trying to do the right thing, move in the right direction. And again, so much to be proud of, so much that we can build on to create that sense of community going forward beyond 2026. Um, One of the things, we did a series of semi-quincentennial grants, and some of them funded those local historic sites and things like that, projects, programming, a lot of cool things. But one of them I think of is, again, not far from me in Montgomery County, the borough of Rockledge, right outside of the city, does a great fireworks show, but they only do it just for budget reasons every few years. And, 2026 wasn't going to be one of those years. Well, we can't not do it this year. And it's real. I take a lot of pride in the fact that, they got approved for a grant so that, this July, there are going to be fireworks lighting up the night sky, not quite my community, but, near enough. And that, again, something like that is going to bring that community together. And I really hope that that sense of pride and joy that they feel, that, I think we're about the same age, that Sandlot moment under the fireworks really kind of carries forward and gives something to feel hopeful and connected about beyond this year.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to inspire people. I mean, you never know if that's the moment where they go, you know what, I should, volunteer more, or I should, get more involved in my community. It's those small moments that, especially like you said, you and me are probably close to the same age, of where as you're getting older, you're like, these are the moments that count. Like these are the things I want to remember and I want to focus on. It could be, an educational event at a state park. It could be fireworks for America 250. It's exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be remiss to say about volunteer opportunities. Keep your eyes peeled in July. Even after the 4th, we do Pennsylvania Day, which is July 20th. And one of the things we do is we work with local food banks and Feeding PA. And we identify sites, and we do mini grants to do park cleanups. As a matter of fact, last year, I was in a historic cemetery in Philly, and I was actually able to help uncover, that it had fallen into disrepair. Mount Vernon, it's called. It fell into disrepair. Now it's under new ownership, and they're really trying to bring it back. There's a lot of famous people that are buried there, members of the Barrymore family, the acting dynasty, and some revolutionary patriots. And one of them was a minister who was a prominent patriot, and his grave was like totally obscured and just doing some basic cleanup work. So those opportunities are out there, whether they're through us or through other local groups. So again, it's a great year to roll up your sleeves and find something in your community to get excited about and get involved with.
And now, let's hear from our sponsors. Looking to get outside this winter? Join Keystone Trails Association for guided hikes highlighting bird migration, maple sugaring, and more. Visit kta-hike.org. It's better outside, especially with the Purple Lizard map in your pack. Their award-winning cartography helps you see the big picture and explore some of the best outdoor destinations in Pennsylvania. Each map reveals trails, forests, and small towns waiting to be discovered, helping you plan, wander, and reconnect with the world around you. Discover the Pennsylvania Outdoor Recreation Map and the full collection at purplelizard.com, where outstanding maps lead to outstanding adventures. Hey, fellow explorers, this is a message from the Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation. You know those incredible state parks and forests Christian talks about on every episode? We're the ones helping make sure they stay incredible. From maintaining the trails you hike to engaging volunteer groups who make your experience better, to supporting conservation projects that protect Pennsylvania's natural treasures while keeping these places accessible. We're behind the scenes making it happen. Whether you're planning your next waterfall hike or just dreaming about your favorite overlook, know that PPFF is working to preserve these special places for future generations of explorers. Learn more at paparksandforests.org. Looking to add some Pennsylvania charm to your space? Sister Sunflowers has you covered. Their unique stickers highlight the small local spots that make your community shine, from quirky caves to hidden gems. Perfect for your laptop, water bottle, or anywhere that needs a little hometown love. They've got stickers, magnets, prints, and even a hand-drawn poster to keep track of all the Pennsylvania state parks and forests you've explored. Use code HELLBENDER15 for 15% off your first order. Support local, inspire adventure, and decorate with meaning. Only at Sister Sunflowers. Are you looking for a getaway that feels remote yet is surprisingly easy to reach? Discover Clarion County in western Pennsylvania. Within minutes, you can wander the timeless old-growth beauty of Cook Forest or paddle the peaceful Clarion River. Explore endless trails, breathe deep, and find the escape you've been missing. With lodging from luxury cabins and high-end Airbnbs to family campgrounds and budget-friendly hotels, your perfect stay awaits. Plan your escape at discoverclarioncounty.com. Clarion County, your trailhead to happiness. Ready to trade the office commute for fresh tracks in Pennsylvania's Laurel Highlands? Close the laptop, grab your gear, and get out on snow-covered terrain. You can ski or snowboard at your choice of 4 resorts. You can even cross-country ski or snowshoe, or take a winter hike and soak it all in. And when it's time to slow things down, there's still plenty to do. Settle in with great food, plenty of laughs, and a cozy place to stay. Maybe a cabin in the woods, a treehouse hideaway, or even a stay at Nemacolin, an ultra-luxury resort. You can plan your winter escape at golaurelhighlands.com. All right, back to the show. How do you think Pennsylvania's role in 1776 continues to influence the Commonwealth and the nation today?
I think that there's a sense of stewardship that, we are the birthplace. There's a classic rock station here in Philly, and their slogan it sticks with me: "Rockin' in the cradle of liberty," and that we are the cradle of liberty. We are where this experiment started, so we wanted to keep it going, and I find that in all walks of life as I travel, whoever you're dealing with, and I deal with folks. I have my beliefs and opinions, but I'm dealing with folks all across the ideological spectrum. We're coming together on this, and everything I see is this consistent belief that this country is special. This country is the government we have, democracy we have, is worth fighting for, worth preserving, and worth honoring. And I think if you can start there, and just deal with folks on a human level, you can really kind of build out from there. So I think that whether it's this anniversary or just in general, that idea that something special started here, and it's up to all of us to make sure that it keeps going, that it keeps growing and moving in the right direction. We might not agree what that direction is, but again, if we can kind of come together as neighbors, whether it's, across different counties or just right in our own backyard, and find that common ground, I think that's the best way to sort of honor that patriot legacy and move it forward into, again, we always talk, I plan to be alive in the tricentennial. I will be 91, but I plan to live to see it. And I want to see, a government and a country that's strong and that's thriving. And so it's up to us to find that common ground, even if we don't always see it in it easily. But again, we have a duty to the folks that came before us to, we're holding the baton now. We want to make sure we're passing it on better than we found it to the folks that come after us.
Yeah, especially if somebody like yourself who's worked in the legislature like I have, you realize that common ground is the only thing that can move anything ever. So, yeah. I mean, once this person might be from X county, I'm from Y city, you'd be surprised how much common ground there is to be able to get things done. It just takes a little bit of fortitude, I'd say.
Fortitude, patience, and, that sense of, hey, I might not agree with this person, but again, if you get to know them on that human level, you feel like it's a line. I'm a big fan of President Kennedy, and President Kennedy said when he was talking about the Cold War with the Russians that, we all occupy the same small planet. We all treasure our children's future, and we're all mortal. And you kind of come at it with some humility and some understanding that, hey, we all want the same things. And that's been the benefit of this work. When I go to places like Lebanon County to see a beautiful mosaic unveiled, and I get to interact with that community. And I say, like, hey, we might not have cast our vote the same way for president, for governor, for whatever, but these are people that love their community and they love this Commonwealth and they're proud of this anniversary. And we can start from there. We can. I think there is something that we can build on, and we can find a way to work together.
How do you think early Pennsylvanians would react if they saw the Commonwealth today?
I think we'd have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
separate and apart from technology and the way that our views on women, people of color have evolved. Um, John Adams famously thought the big anniversary would be on July 2nd. That's when he said that we would see pomp and parade in this country. He was off by a couple days, but I think that I think the thing that would surprise them is how central they are in our understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
We are not an ancient country. Certainly, the native peoples were here for thousands of years and they have their own rich culture and tradition. But the American, I think if you look at our history, we really did a lot of work, and folks like Washington Irving did this to sort of immortalize our founders and to create that sense of national identity. And there's a little bit of national myth making. And I think somebody like George Washington, might come back and say, like, I'm honored to be the father of this country, and I'm glad that I'm remembered. But understand, I'm just a person. You know, Adams, Jefferson. These are men with feet of clay. So I think that they are venerated, that they are figures in marble and in statue, and that we kind of gloss over maybe some of their faults. Yeah, I think that might be the lesson, is that, like, we are glad that you honor our work, glad that you honor our memory, but it's up to you to kind of move the ball forward. So yes, look to the past, and as they did, they looked to the Romans and other leaders in Great Britain and in Europe, but they also then took those lessons and tried to apply them to their context and their time and what was right for them. And I think that's something that a lesson we can learn, and maybe something that they would urge us to do, that, hey, yeah, thank you for the flowers, but remember, like, you know what did Ben Franklin say after the Constitutional Convention? What kind of government do we have? A democracy if you can keep it. And that was the tacit lesson, right? It's the future is in your hands. So I think that would be the thing that would surprise them most.
Yeah, I think they also, you bring up a really good point because I think they would also look at, because like you said, there were people like Adams and Washington who looked back at Seneca and Rome and looked for leadership qualities. And now there's people that are throughout the generations of America have looked back at our founding fathers. I'm sure they would also want to see like who's next up. Like who's going to be the next one who are going to get statues and who are going to get memorialized, because I want to know them. So that's exciting. And just the fact that there are Pennsylvanians today that will one day become big portions of history and legend, and it's really cool.
I'm a Star Trek fan, and one of the better Star Trek movies was they go back and they meet the person that sort of got the ball rolling to their utopian future. And you know they, they tell him a quote that he later said. He said, don't try to be a great man, just be a man and let history make those decisions. And I think there's a good lesson there. It's like, do the best you can, find a way. And I'll quote another Kennedy, Senator Robert Kennedy said when he visited South Africa during the apartheid days, said, don't try to change the world. You send a tiny ripple of hope out. And whether that's getting involved in your community, as you suggested, finding a way to, working at a food bank, doing any kind of thing that you can do to put a tiny little ripple of hope, coach your kids' team. That's, those little ripples can kind of form a tidal wave to make, to really change the world. So I think if you less concerned about taking the big swing, because that can be so intimidating, but then finding a way to get involved, to get engaged with your community, that's where it all starts. And then, if you're lucky enough, maybe history looks back and remembers you. But even if they don't, you can do work that's meaningful to you and gives you that sense of pride. And I think that's a good legacy for any of us.
Yeah, yeah. What opportunities are there for local governments, historical societies, and community groups to participate in the America 250 celebration?
We try to work with folks in a really collaborative way. We don't want this to be a top-down thing where we're dictating from the Commonwealth, because again, it's 67 different counties, it's all of these local municipalities, and it's a big state. So, we don't want to take that top-down approach. So if you get involved, go to america250pa.org. You can find opportunities, events that are coming up. We encourage folks who run these nonprofits become a nonprofit affiliate of ours, and we can kind of have that collaborative. Hey, if you're having an event, let's promote it. Let's find ways we can work together. Because I think so much of this is happening on the ground, and we wouldn't want to presume like the folks that know their community, know that history, know what needs to be highlighted. My attitude is let me defer to you. Let me hear from you what you're doing, what you think is appropriate. Last summer, I was actually at a great event that was the Bucks County Chamber of Commerce put together, where they brought stakeholders together and kind of said, hey, this is coming up. There are these great opportunities. What do you feel like is a good fit for your organization, your business, your museum, to sort of highlight it? Because I think folks, again, can get creative with that in ways that, we might not even occur to us. The one thing I would encourage folks is like, don't get hamstrung by 1776. If you have something to shine a light on, something that we should be proud of, it's 250 years of history.
Yeah.
It's right up to the present day. So again, there are opportunities to get involved with us directly, sponsorships, things like that. But, don't hesitate to reach out, to get in touch and kind of let us know what you're doing or what you kind of see. And we would love to help shine a light on that and kind of bring that attention back to your locality. All 67 counties, and I think it's over 400 municipalities, have passed our resolution wanting to become part of America 250 PA. So those opportunities are out there, and if we can find ways to collaborate, we are not the only place that has good ideas about this. Not us, not the national, not America 250. This is about, we want this to be as much about the grassroots as possible.
Well, I think that goes perfectly into how ordinary Pennsylvanians, whether they live in cities or small towns or rural communities, can get involved. So reach out through your website, or do you think it's if there's a local organization doing something, they should just reach out to them? What's the best way to do it?
I think, anytime we have volunteer opportunities, there's ways you can sign up to get on our mailing list so you can become a volunteer at different events and programs that we're having directly. Mentioned Pennsylvania Day, that'll be coming up in July, and we definitely want as many volunteers as possible for something like that. But, again, there are county 250 commissions, or maybe that are always looking for great volunteers and great folks to get involved. There are local opportunities through some of those smaller nonprofits, through museums. A lot of these places do thrive on, volunteers because, again, you're a small nonprofit, the margins are slim. And so what I would say is come to our website. If you want to volunteer with us directly, great. If you want to find out what's going on in your county, we'd be happy to connect you with one of our county advisors who can kind of get you more involved in the stuff that's happening in your community. Or, again, just go to one of those local nonprofits. Hey, have you seen this historical society? Have you seen this museum in your community? I would encourage folks to go there. Say, are you looking for volunteers? Are you guys doing anything for the 250th? I bet you're going to get an answer that you like, and they would love to have your help. And again, as you suggest, it's something that you can kind of carry with you, carry forward beyond 2026. If you like doing it, nothing would make me happier than to run into somebody that heard this conversation, said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I got involved, and now like I'm going there, once a week, once a month, whatever it is." That's an awesome legacy, and a great way. I often say when we do cleanups, and when I worked for the state senate, I would try to pitch neighbors. You have no idea how rewarding it is to clean up other people's garbage.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we have to do community cleanups. Don't litter. But, when you get involved, even if it's, packing a box at a food bank or whatever it is, it's a great feeling walking out the door. It really is.
Can you give me an example of the events you'll be hosting this year as part of America 250? How different are these events that you're going to be hosting?
Sure. So I'll give you a great example of a dichotomy. We did last year a request for proposal for a lecture series. We gave out grants to different organizations. Another one, I forgive all the Bucks County examples, but they're again close and top of mind. But Washington's Crossing, applied for and got one of our grants to do some programming on, Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So, something very traditional like that, where we're going to bring in, the local community. Friends at Washington's Crossing are going to put on a great lecture, and they're going to be happening from April through the fall of next year at different sites. We're going to work with PCN to make sure that, even if it's not in your backyard, you could go to PCN and find it in their archives and
That's
watch it
awesome.
at your convenience. Yeah. But then we're also doing the Commonwealth Concert Series, which is modeled on what we do here in Philadelphia every year, Welcome America. It starts in State College, Memorial Day weekend. And we're still keeping the town under wraps, but I can tell you that these are exciting acts. The governor was very adamant that he wants top tier talent in Pennsylvania, and so we're going to do a series of these concerts all across the Commonwealth. Again, go to our website. You can see like, where they're located. There'll be free concerts. So everything from, really amazing music to a lecture on, you know, uh, maybe an under-discussed aspect of Pennsylvania or American history. And that's kind of the dichotomy we're getting at. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fireworks. It's going to be live music, but it's also going to be that, that history and that grounding in the past that got us to the present.
Is there a piece of Pennsylvania history that always surprises people when you tell them about it?
I'll tell you one that surprised me when I found out when I was doing our one of our BAP dedications, BA, Bells Across PA. The acronyms start to get to you. We were doing a dedication in Franklin County, um, and I did not know that the Confederates, before Gettysburg, marched on Chambersburg and burned it to the ground. I had no idea about this. And the folks in Franklin County were so great, as we're waiting, for the ceremony to start, showing me around like the town square in Chambersburg. And this is where they have a spot where like Robert E. Lee was, and again, I'm a little bit of a Civil War buff. Uh, by extension through my dad. My dad was a Civil War buff, and of course,
All of our dads are Civil War buffs, of course, of
at,
course.
at, at some point it happens. So, but you know, and again, I've been to Gettysburg several times. It's amazing. It's a sacred space. But not knowing that, yeah, a Pennsylvania city was burned to the ground, that surprised me. So I can't think of one that jumps out specifically, but I assure you, if you dig in, there is so much interesting history in every part of this Commonwealth. And so if you're at all interested, like just start traveling around, check out some of those nonprofits, some of those museums. I promise you're going to find a fun fact that you bring up to your history nerd friends at the next party.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the exact same way. I hit 40, and all of a sudden, I was like, I should start reading a lot more about the Civil War. I went to in 2025. I traveled a bunch to see American Revolutionary War sites. I saw a lot of Civil War sites, and sometimes because it's so big and so important that Gettysburg gets so much attention, and then you realize like York was held hostage, and then the bridge at Columbia was burned. Like all these really interesting facts that once you kind of slow down and while you're driving, stop when you see those cool historic commission signs, and you're just like, oh, I want to learn more about this. You'd be surprised by how much history is in Pennsylvania, all over the place, everywhere, all the time.
Oh yeah, we do two bell related programs. You have the Bells Across PA, which are the painted Liberty bells, and then we have semi-quincentennial bells, which are permanent bronze bells. They're actually modeled on the bicentennial bell that we got from Queen Elizabeth, but we've dedicated these in a few different spots. Before I worked for the commission, dedicated one up in Northeast PA at the Dennis Farm, which is a historic African American farm that was owned by had continually owned by one free African American family, from the Revolutionary period through the present day. And Denise Dennis is the matriarch and has been one of our amazing volunteers. She's a remarkable lady. So if you're in that neck of the woods, please go to the Dennis Farm, check it out. We dedicated one last summer at, you mentioned York, at a place called Camp Security, which is now just as a county park, but was a Revolutionary era prison camp. And again, you get that, that little slice of history that, York County, that part of Pennsylvania was so crucial to the founding of our country. And, not just where the Articles of Confederation were written, but, this prison camp that and learning a little bit more of that history that I had never heard of, but getting to go there, see that bell dedicated. And now there's that anchor, there's that, that monument that, again, folks and families that live in York County generations from now might see that. What happened there? What's going on here? And then kind of go down the rabbit hole and find themselves becoming Revolutionary War buffs.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are Pennsylvania's parks, forests, or outdoor spaces playing a role in some of these initiatives for America 250?
Yes. The Road to 2026, we work with DCNR to promote folks going to state and county parks. They can go on our website. There's various challenges they can do. They can track their progress, and there's milestones they can hit. There's medals and swag they can get in the mail for participating, and it's a great way to get out to all of these amazing parks, local, county, and we're certainly not going to turn our noses up at the folks that want to go out to, Valley Forge and some of our national parks. As long as you're out there enjoying, the beauty of Pennsylvania, getting some good exercise and having fun, we're really excited about it. So again, check out Road to 2026. Even in 2026, it's a whole year's journey. We always remind folks of that it's not just 4th of July, it's all year. So that's a great way to get involved. And, I know we have one state park here in Philadelphia, and I love going there to get a jog in. So, my folks locally, check out Benjamin Rush State Park, check out Neshaminy State Park. There's so many great resources there, and our folks at DCNR do a really, really great job keeping up with them. So, again, if you want to do that and get a little swag, go ahead and participate in the Road to 2026.
Yeah. And I feel like Benjamin Rush State Park is a twofer because not only is it the only state park inside of Philadelphia, but it's also named after a signer of the Declaration of Independence and American revolutionary patriot. But it also has one of the largest community gardens in the world, which is, I love doing an episode of that. And it has a model airplane field.
Yes, well before drones were a thing,
Yeah, yeah.
I was looking up at the skies over my childhood home and wondering what the heck is that?
Guys with helicopters and planes. Yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
America 250 PA has a podcast. What kind of topics do you discuss there?
So, our host Sydney, she does a great job of highlighting a lot of the different things that we talked about, like that those local history, whether it's a local jazz festival or a unique historic site, or something like Pennsylvania cryptids, famous women of Pennsylvania. You know, she casts a wide net because Pennsylvania has a lot to offer. So, we are north of 50 episodes now, and there's so many great stories to tell. So I look forward to it because she does a great job researching and connecting with, our partners and other folks that have a story to tell. So if there's a topic in Pennsylvania you want to learn more about, I would just say that, it's a long feed. If there's not one of those episodes that catches your eye, I would be really, really surprised. Just go to the feed. You'll see there is all this great history there. And again, it's just another reminder that this Commonwealth has an embarrassment of riches. So I've enjoyed it. I have done a lot of dishes learning all my Pennsylvania history.
Well, right off of that, what do you hope Pennsylvanians will take away from the 250th anniversary about the Commonwealth, their communities, or their shared history?
I want them to feel that sense of pride. And I want them to feel that, you know, people feel like this is a challenging moment for our country, some of that division that we mentioned. And I think that's legitimate. But I think if you look back at the Revolutionary period, and watching the recent Ken Burns doc, people felt like that was a civil war, that we were very divided, that we were facing an uncertain future. So I know folks feel that today, but that we came together, we overcame that. And I think that is really what I hope is the legacy here is that this is an opportunity to come together honor that amazing past that we share, and then to find a way to build on it, to use those examples to kind of build something for the future. Um, that is really my hope because, again, it's been my experience connecting with folks, different walks of life, different parts of the state, and seeing that there's more that unites us, and more than we have in common than that divides us. And, listen, I hope everybody has fun in our concert series. I hope people enjoy the lectures. But I think the real legacy is, where you take it from there. And, you know, what I hope is that it's that sense of truly a commonwealth, that we have, that we're united, that we feel that sense of Pennsylvania pride, not just that regional pride, but that, hey, you were a part. If you're from Erie, go ahead and claim pride in all that great stuff that happens down in my neck of the woods, because it is part of a shared legacy. And we all have something to offer, and we all have something, you know, Cassandra, our executive director, Cassandra Coleman, told me that early when she was starting this and trying to take this idea to, some of the counties outside of the Southeast, some, places outside of like Adams County with the Civil War legacy, she would get a little pushback. She said, oh, well, we're not really connected to that. Or, we're a small county, we're a rural county, whatever it is. And she kept saying, no, like there is something here. You have something to be proud of. And kind of reminding folks that, hey, don't take it for granted. It might not be Independence Hall, but few places are. But there's something there to be proud of. So I think, again, a sense of unity and a sense of local and Pennsylvania pride, would be wonderful, wonderful legacies to leave for the semi-quincentennial.
Where can people go to learn more about America 250 PA?
Go to america250pa.org. You can find all the stuff we've been talking about, the information on the concert series, volunteer opportunities, links to our podcast. You want to suggest a topic for the podcast, please do that. Some of the nonprofit affiliates, places you can go to visit, events that are coming up in your community. It's a one-stop shop. Please come and see us. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We try to keep things posted on a regular basis. So you let you know what we're doing and what's coming up, and see some of the stuff that might have happened in your backyard that you missed. You get a great recap of it.
Matt, thanks so much for talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Christian, it's a sincere pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank my guest, Matt Dara, for joining the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Meta for more information about upcoming episodes. You can support the podcast by buying merch at hemlockstohellbenders.com, or you can click support this show in the podcast description to provide a monthly donation. This has been Hemlocks to Hellbenders. I'll see you out there. Hosting, production, and editing by Christian Alexanderson. Music by John Sauer. Graphics by Matt Davis.